Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Guion. My day job, I am the lead coordinator for instructional technology programs at WSWHE BOCES, which is in Saratoga in New York. I am here today to talk a little bit about using artificial intelligence as a thought partner. This whole video is going to be about a session that I do called Once Upon AI. In this session, we're going to create a story together using artificial intelligence. Now, you may be saying AI is going to do the work for me, but that is so not the case. Here, we're going to use AI, like I said, as a thought partner. We're going to think about how we can use artificial intelligence to help us do things that were otherwise impossible or seem stressful or were just difficult for us. For example, I am a horrible artist. I cannot draw at all, not capable in any way of doing anything beyond even a real basic stick figure. Just ask my kids when we play Drawful on Jackpot games, and they'll tell you I cannot draw at all. But with AI, I can, and I'm not a coder, although I teach a lot of computer science, but I am not, I don't have a degree in computer science or in coding, but I'm going to show you how I use code to create some of the things that we're going to use. So AI opens up that door. It creates the potential for you to do things that were beyond what you thought were possible. And that's what we're going to do in this session. So this is called Once Upon AI, and we're going to use artificial intelligence to help us create a story. Now, we're still going to write the story. We're just going to use a lot of supports along the way. We're going to level that playing field so people that are maybe struggling writers or struggling artists can certainly find ways to create these incredible stories with AI. All right. We're going to use it as a thought partner, like I said, not as a way to do the work for us. So I'm here on Book Creator. That's what you see on your screen right now. I am a huge fan of Book Creator. Book Creator allows me to be creative. It creates things into books. I was an English teacher for many years before I went into the ed tech world. So it gives me the opportunity to build my own digital books. And I use it for all sorts of things in the classroom. Here, we're going to use it as a place to put our story. We're also going to use it as the place that we actually create the images for our story. We're also going to use School AI. I will be showing you Google Forms and Flippity as well. So we're going to use lots of layers here. I'd call this a more of an advanced way to use AI than maybe your first time out, but it certainly is something that you can totally do. So let's get into it. So I'm here in the regular mode for like your display mode in Book Creator. So you'll see if I click on the arrows, it's going to go out to each page of my book. But on this page where it says AI story, you're going to see that there's lots of links, and I want to show you what they are. I've been doing Once Upon AI as a session for a couple of years now, and every year AI just gets that much better and it gets that much easier to create this. But I wanted to share with you the way I first did it, because I still think it's a viable way to create your stories depending on what you have accessible to you. What I did when I originally started doing this session is I used a Google form, which I can open up here. And you're going to see this Google form just says, what's the main character? Where does it take place? What happened in your story? We're going to build all of the parts based on this Google form. The Google form then gives me that spreadsheet, right? All the results go out on a spreadsheet. So when I click on the spreadsheet, you're going to see all of the people that have put in different things onto the spreadsheet. When I click on the randomizer, what it does is it shows me the categories of the things. So I'd had to copy and paste from that form responses onto this page in order to use Flippity. And with Flippity.net, if you've never used it, it's Flippity.net. It has all of these different tools for you that work within the Google Workspace for Education. What I can do with it is I go out to this link that they have after the randomizer, and it gives me a link to the randomizer. So I'm going to click on that so you can see it. So Flippity created this big wheel for me, and you can see it has all of the sections, right? So if I click each individual one, it's going to spin them individually, or let's do it when this lands on page, okay? But let's say I wanted to spin them all, which I can all the way on the far right here, or you spin all those wheels for me. And I'm going to see, and I don't care about this first one, it's just the way it's pulling, but I'm going to see a young girl in New York City named Max, apparently, who meets a bear, or maybe Max is another character, so I can choose that however I want to do it. There was a terrible storm. Then there's ice cream melted. Ooh, I like this story. And then you use your mind and creatively save the world. So this would be the story that we would write using AI, how I did it originally. And you still can do this, right? You can still spin again, right? You can see the one at the top is giving you an example. So you can build this story by using Google Forms and Flippity if you want. All right, so let me show you what we're doing this year, though. And this year, we're taking it really into AI even more. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use a chatbot on School AI. So I created a space, and I'll show you how that works. And I wanted to build the story using AI. So what I did is on my webpage, so if you got to Smile Learning, you click the little hamburger menu in the top left-hand corner, slide on down to Smile Sparks. And then you're going to scroll down to the story one. So there's lots of different things out here that you can play around with, but we're going to go to the story spinner. So it's almost near the bottom, just the way I have it categorized in here. But what I have is a random story spinner. Now I coded this. And when I mean I coded it, I mean Gemini coded it. I asked Gemini to code it. All right. So I went in and I said, create me a story spinner with these categories. And I want a one spin that's going to give me all the parts. And then I can spin it again if I don't like it, right? So I can continue to use it. So I've got all the parts of the story, my two characters, my setting, the event, the complication, the resolution, and what the message of my story is. Now, I didn't give it all of the information as far as what I wanted those categories to be. So now I'm randomizing it to anything AI could think of. What I did ask was that the content be something that's appropriate for a fifth grader. So I wanted to bring the words down to a level that they could understand. I didn't want it to be, a college level reading program that we're giving them. I want to make sure it was accessible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click spin. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me my story. So my character is a clever detective and a funny clown. The setting is a town where everyone can fly. So we have a flying detective and a clown. My event is the favorite story toy comes to life. Ooh, so maybe the clown is a toy or maybe the detective is a toy. I have that ability to make the story however I want. The complication is that the robot batteries are almost dead. Well, okay, now we have a third character, or maybe the clown is actually a robot, right? Or the detective is actually a robot. We can, again, create the story any way we want. And then resolution is they convince the gnomes. Okay, now we have gnomes to help them find treasure. So this is a very creative story. This might be hard, but we're going to give it a try. And then the message is, what lesson did they learn about friendship? So here, it's really not giving you the message to use. It's, again, asking you a question that you get to put that part in. So that's where you're adding your own flair. I took away the I don't know what to write about part of the writing process here. I did not get rid of any of the creativity or the student's uniqueness on using this. All right. So remember these. All right, because we're going to come back over to our book creator book, and I'm going to click on the School AI tab now, and I'm going to open this in a new window just so you can see it big. I'm going to put in my first name here, so Lori. When you use it, you can put in a fake name. You don't need to put your real name in. You're going to click join. And I already built this on the back end. I can show you that if you're interested in what that looks like. But here, what we're going to do is look at it from the student perspective, and then I can show you that later. So I'm going to click on join. It's going to ask me what are my parts. So just like we did in from before in that Smile Spark page where we got the story parts, here's where the information is. Now, as a student in the class, I can change anything I want here, right? Just because I use the generator doesn't mean I'm stuck with it. But I know my two characters was a detective and, oops, if I can spell, and a clown. And then my setting was a town where everyone can fly. So I'm going to add that. The townspeople, and we know they were gnomes, so I'm going to put that in. Who are gnomes can all fly. The event was a toy comes to life, right? When suddenly, let's put a little of that in for fun. A toy comes to life. What was the challenge? The challenge was the robot was about to die. So I'm going to actually have the toy be the robot, but the batteries are about to run out, right? And then what I'm going to do is convince them to help find the treasure. So I need to convince the gnomes to help me find the treasure. Maybe I don't want to say me. Maybe I want to say detectives here. Find the treasure before the batteries run out. The message is teamwork makes the dream work, right? So we're going to have a little fun there too. Okay, so I'm going to click on send message. It's going to take all of this information. It's going to help me start writing the story. So here is my character. Here's my setting. And it says, let's nail down some more information, right? Because it kind of wants to know more. It says, you have a detective and a clown. How would you describe them? What are their personalities and their unique traits? See, I have to give the chatbot the information in order to build it. So I'm going to do this here. I'm going to say that the detective and the clown are best friends who grew up across the street from each other. The detective is very serious, but the clown helps keep things light by telling silly puns and jokes. All right, so I'm going to do that. And we have the flying gnomes with the, I'm just going to leave that for now. Let's just get this part down right here. Okay, so let's just work on the first part here. So right here, I gave context to what is going on in the story. Before it gives me more, it's asking me to get more. So I haven't actually given them much yet. But I'm going to actually step it back a little bit, only because of time. You don't want to watch me write this whole story, right? You want to be able to build your own. So I'm going to just start with the characters to show you the rest of this, and then you can build the rest from there. So I'm going to ask it, can you help me write the intro to this story before we start with the setting? I'm going to ask it to kind of step back a little bit and help me with that. You obviously can go through and ask all the parts before you get going. Here it did. It wrote me it. It says, in a whimsical town where gnomes flutter around the sky like colorful balloons, a serious detective and his cheerful clown friend set off on an unexpected adventure. When a magical toy springs to life, they realize the clock is ticking. Dun, 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 right? The toy's batteries are about to run out. With a treasure hidden somewhere in the clouds, they must rally the flying gnomes to help them before it's too late. Now, I'm going to take a little copy of this, all right? So, and I'm doing this for a reason, because again, I want you to be able to see how this whole story comes to life. I'm going to come back to my book creator, close out of the book. And typically when I do this with students, I would have them actually fill in these parts. So I'd want to be in edit mode. So I'm going to switch back to edit mode. And I would have had the student write in their parts here and describe them. So really using like what we were doing in School AI to build that information. But for the sake of this video, we're going to go to the next page. And it says character. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a text box in Book Creator. And I'm going to paste in what I wrote. All right, now it highlights it because it's taking it from AI. So I'm going to unhighlight it. So I'm going to click onto my text highlighter and tell none. And I'm going to change the text color back to black. It's going to do that because we have the reverse colors on School AI and I copied and pasted it. Now I can have this read to me, right? I can also add my own audio and have it and read it myself inside Book Creator, whatever way I need to do to help me out and however it is I'm doing things here. But I'm going to click done for now. And we're going to make this box a little bit better. All right, so here I've got the character. Now on the next page, I've got setting. But what I want is I want a blank page. All right, so I'm going to click on pages. And I'm going to go to the setting page and I'm going to click insert. So it gives me a blank page. On this page, I want to create these characters. So remember, we have this detective and we have the clown. So on this page, I'm going to put the clouds. I'm going to put the detective. I'm going to put the clown and a gnome maybe flying in the air. I don't know if we can get this to happen with AI. We're going to give it a try. So I'm going to click on the plus. I'm going to go over to apps. You do need to turn on that in your apps, and I see that I don't, so give me a pause. Oh, here it is. It's the very top one because it's Adobe, and Adobe starts with an A. So right at the top, I have AI image generator, and I'm going to have to log in. So I'm going to pause the video, get myself all logged in, and then I'll be right back. All right, I am back on Book Creator. I have signed into Adobe Express, and you see up at the top, it asks me to describe what I'd like. So I'm going to say a detective and a clown who are also gnomes are in a town, a cloudy town square. All around them, there are other flying gnomes searching for a lost treasure. There is a robot watching everything. All right. I wasn't very descriptive, but we're going to go with that and see how it goes. Obviously, what we want to do is teach our students that if it doesn't come out the way they like, they know they have to edit and change that description. That's exactly what you want them to be doing, right? They're going to be editing their thoughts and picturing it and trying to figure out the best way to do it. Now, these actually came out pretty cute. So I can grab any of these and go, but I want to show you what can happen if you do change it. So I'm going to say the robot is the only thing on the ground. Let's see how that changes what it does. So this is where the students are adding their description. Maybe they want their student to have, or their character rather, to have a different emotion on their face. Or they're trying to make sure that the clouds are really being seen. So you can change that. Now, it really didn't follow me when I said I want the robots on the ground on that one, but there are some really cool ones to go with. Since I have two main characters, I'm actually going to pick this first one. You could pick any one you like, but you can click on that item, you click add to book, and what it's going to do is bring that into your story. Now, the students can obviously draw their images and do those kind of things like we typically do on on paper, but here we can add some other parts to it. So I really like this, and you'll see that it doesn't quite fit the whole screen, so you might have to shrink it or change it. And if you want to see what it looks like in play mode, you click the play button. There it is. So now we have the character, and we've got this scene to start, right? So now every time we want to create the next page in the story, we want to try to use similar context. So I might want to, before I hit enter on this, I might wanted to copy and save the text and then add to it, or I can just rewrite it, right? So you're going to do this for each part. So here are my characters. We're going to say this is the robot maybe, or maybe this is what's coming up down here. But then I'm going to go to the next page and do the same thing. I'm going to do the setting. I'm going to do the event, right? I'm going to do all parts of it, the complication and the resolution, and then the message. I'm going to create each of those pages using School AI to help me build the parts, and using Adobe to help me create the images. And then I've got my whole book, right? So I could change every part of it. I can change the cover. I can change any part of the story. This is just a way to get those creative juices flowing. Now, I told you I would show you the back end of School AI, and I don't want to forget to do that. So I'm going to open up a new tab here. And I'm going to go to schoolai.com. Now, you could use other ones. There's other AI tools that'll do this for you. You could do it right in Gemini too. But for this one, I felt that School AI, the space was the best for this way that I wanted to organize the thought process and having that thought partner. I've done it with students multiple times with different spaces, and I find that the students are really, really good at asking the right questions to get the information that they need. And you can see I've done, dozens of them in different ways for different concepts and different ways to get students to engage with AI. And we have found that these different chatbots can be really handy in getting students to be creative. Here's the Once Upon AI one. What I'm going to do is on that last page of the book and in the show or in the webinar notes or the video notes here, I'm going to make sure you have a link to everything. So you'll have access to the back end of this to be able to put this in your own School AI account, adjust it any way you like to be able to launch it. So here I have the information. I can click remix and start again. I can add it as one of my favorites. I can share the space, which is what I'm going to do to you, for you rather, and then I can launch it like I had, or I can even put it in preview mode and be able to go through and see if it's working the way I want it to work. Now, every time you open this up, it's going to start a little different because it's AI, right? It's not from a script. It's going to keep changing based on how the students interact with it. On the back end, you do get all the information. So if I go out to my sessions, I can see all of the people that are in different sessions, and I can see whether or not the status is active or not. If I click into one of these, for example, just to kind of show you, I can see that there's some issues I might have to address on maybe some things that have happened in their chat. I can see some highlights of different information over on the side as far as what AI is noticing, and I can see headlines for each student to see where they are in the process. This is a really great way for me to engage with students. And I'm actually going to end this one because this one is done anyway. So when you don't want to get any more things, you can go ahead and moderate them. Once you've checked, which I already have for these students, you can check and grab and chat with any of the students that you need to. So AI is amazing, and School AI is a great way to get your students to engage, to get the content to work as that thought partner. You can use AI, like I use Gemini, to actually create different spinners like we did, like this one, the story spinner. A great way to use AI to help with your story. I also have one that's like a Pictureka kind of game. I have a monster builder you can check out that helps you build a monster. It's okay. I need to tweak it a little bit more still. It's not perfect. You can play tic-tac-toe with AI. You can ask silly questions, play Connect 4 games. Lots of different ways you can engage your students using artificial intelligence.